Thank you everybody for coming in today. It's going to be our third and final info session. We're glad to have you here. We're going to give it a few more minutes for just people to pile in. But yeah, we'll get started in a few. Oh, and we asked that everybody make sure that you're checking your mics and your cameras. This will be live. This is currently live for Facebook Live, and will be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel as well. So we just ask that you be cognizant of that throughout the meeting. Thank you.
I know. Sister King already. Hold on. Not a bad.
It looks like we're getting a good number of people in the waiting room. Piling in. And it was 11 o'clock. So just to be cognizant of everybody's time, respectful of everybody's time, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Like I was telling people earlier, welcome to Black Empowerment Works info session. This is going to be our third and final info session, so we're glad to have you here. Just as a reminder, and you should have seen this in the email, but this session is recorded and it is being broadcasted on Facebook Live. If you would like to find the recording later, it's going to be on the United Ways YouTube channel. So yes, we're happy to have you all here. We just ask that you be cognizant that this is going to be on live. People are going to be listening through different venues, so be cognizant of your mics and your cameras when you are in this meeting. So we ask that everybody, if you're not speaking, to please put it on mute. We will have a Q&A session later on, but yes, we just want to make sure of that. All right. Thank you everybody for showing up. I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So my name is Jeremiah Pennebaker. I am the Community Impact Associate here at United Way, and I'm going to introduce you to the rest of our Black Empowerment Works team. We have Ms. Janae Bradley, she's a senior manager, and we have Dr. Terry Hurdle, she's our Black Empowerment Works coordinator. We're happy to have you all here, and we're going to be here for if you have any questions throughout this meeting and throughout this application process. So for our agenda today, going to be talking a little bit about what is Black Empowerment Works. We're going to go over the basics, the what, the who, the when, the why, how those go. From there, we're going to jump into a deeper dive of the grantee experience. I'm going to talk a little bit about what that looks like to go through the application process, and what we have a previous grantee who is going to be talking a little bit about their experience with the application and their experience being a Black Empowerment Works grantee. Then we're going to jump into the second half where we talk about the reviewer experience. And this is one of the more important parts of the Black Empowerment Works process that we encourage people to be reviewers. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And then we're going to jump into a Q&A, allow people to jump in if they have any questions or anything we'd like to talk about. Oh, and for those of you joining on Facebook, if you have any questions, comments, or things, please put them into the chat. for Facebook, or if you're joining us through Zoom, please put them into the chat. We have people who are going to be monitoring the chat and bringing those questions in during the correct times. So thank you for that. So to get started, what is Black Empowerment Works? Black Empowerment Works promotes Black self-determination, social mobility, and economic prosperity by resourcing and funding grassroots, community-based, Black-led ideas, programs, and projects. And essentially the goals of this program are to promote positive outcomes in the Greater Cincinnati region and invest in promising ideas and leaders who are often left out of traditional grant processes. So why do we have a Black Empowerment Works? So it is very apparent that poverty is a issue across the nation and across many parts of the world. But looking specifically here in the Greater Cincinnati region, poverty is an issue that we have an overrepresentation of Black families that are experiencing poverty. So one in three Black families experience poverty versus 1 in 10 of their white counterparts in the Greater Cincinnati region. And the way that this has often been addressed is through different social programs and things like that, where people receive grants and funding. But there's been an underinvestment of community-based Black-led organizations and solutions that have received funding. So only 1.8% of the share of funding nationally is specifically focused on supporting Black communities. And what we're trying to do with Black Empowerment Works is we're trying to seek to be a part of the change in how we consider and think about funding these solutions. So how do we do Black Empowerment Works? So we're looking to fund a diverse portfolio of ideas, programs with a variety of focus areas, organizational structures, sorry. So this grant opportunity is open to anybody from nonprofits, for-profits, community coalitions, and individuals who meet our requirements. We try to cast a wide net to make sure that we get the best available opportunities. And we'll talk a little bit more about requirements as we go on. So in talking about Black Empowerment Works, how do we make these decisions and how do we find the people? The Black Empowerment Works program, you and your community members make the investment decisions. That is where the vital role of the reviewers come in. Reviewers are community selected people. People apply for these positions, and we're looking for people who are passionate about finding these solutions to issues within the Black community surrounding poverty. We'll talk a little bit more about reviewers later, but for those interested, no prior experience is required, and all reviewers will receive training and to prepare for the opportunity. So where would you find all this stuff? Everything in terms that you would need to know about Black Empowerment Works, you'll find it online. We have gone completely virtual for the most part. For each application, you'll find it online. Reviewers, you'll find an application through Typeform, and grantees will fill out an application through a site called EC Impact. We have support options for all applicants, information packages for both grantees and reviewers. We have info sessions, which is what you're attending now. And we have Q&A chats that are available for people. You can sign up and talk to myself, Janae, or Dr. Terry about the opportunity. And we also have one-on-one support via phone call or email. So where would you find all this stuff? You have a one-stop shop for Black Empowerment Works that is going to be on our website, uwgc.org/BEW apply. Let me just show you what that looks like real quick. There you go. So yes, this is our beautiful newly revamped website. These are real people. These are people who have been involved within the Black Empowerment Works program before in this last year. So like you see now, we are accepting applications, and this is where you would have signed up for info session. This is the last one today, but that is fine. So when you're applying to be a grantee, you will find all this information that you need right here. We have the eligibility requirements right here listed out. I want to highlight that if you are applying to be a grantee, please read through the grantee information packet. Can't highlight for some reason. There it is. Please read through the grantee information packet that has everything that you would need to know. If you have further questions, you can reach out, but we strongly encourage you to read through it. It shows you the step-by-step what the application looks like and what you can expect to see. When you are ready to get started, you click start your application now, and that will take you to EC Impact, where you will fill out a pre-application survey. The deadline to apply is July 8th at 11:59 p.m. For those of you interested in being reviewers, we have a similar setup. All the information you would need is right here. We have our eligibility requirements, the people who are looking for to be reviewers. And once again, please read through the information packet. That has all the information you would need. If you have more questions, we have options to reach out to us right here. You have the information packets again, and you can register for one of the info sessions are over. Sorry about that. But you can send us an email at black-led@uwgc.org. You can give us a call at this phone number. And if you would like to set up a one-on-one Q&A chat, you can click here, and that will give you a direct link to our schedule so you can jump on and just schedule some time. Let me hopefully gracefully jump back to this PowerPoint. Cool. So outside looking in, what can you expect from Black Empowerment Works? From a basic level, we launched last Monday, May 10th, and as when we started these info sessions, we got the information out. The reviewer applications for those applying to be reviewers, that application is due June 18th. And for grantees, that application closes on July 8th. There's a 2-week gap just because we need to do training and get people together. From July 16th, starting July 16th, we will begin looking over applications, making decisions. On August 24th, we will communicate to the grantees who have been selected and have not been selected. And August 27th, we will make the public announcement showing who is Black Empowerment Works Class 2. So to dive a little bit deeper into the grantee experience, we're going to be talking about some of our beautiful grantees from this year. So the applicant journey, if you are going to be a grantee, you start out, you hear about opportunity for Black Empowerment Works to get this grant. Sounds dope. I'm going to figure out more information so you can attend an info session. So you've already knocked out the first 2 steps. You're on a roll. You're going to submit an eligibility form that you will find when you first click on that site and on our website to go to EC Impact. You'll submit the eligibility form. Once you are approved, if you are approved, you will be able to begin an application on EC Impact. There is that 2-step process to make sure you do the eligibility requirement and also fill out the entire application on EC Impact, not just the profile. You will complete the application before July 8th, the July 8th deadline. There will be reviewers who will read your written application. And then from there, we will hold an applicant reviewer conversation where we just talk about some of the questions and things that popped up from your application so reviewers can get a better understanding. There's a good chance for you to speak life into your idea. So we will have a final deliberation period after the conversation. And then, like I said before, decisions will be communicated on August 24th. So what is application eligibility look like? And this is just a bullet pointed list. You'll find more information on the information packet, like I said, but 60% of the leadership team identifies as Black, the people who are making decisions for this program. If this is a nonprofit, we ask that at least 50% of the board identifies as Black. The work intentionally contributes to the advancing of the well-being of Black folks. And we ask that the work is rooted in or owned by the community. This is where the grassroots aspects come in. The work contributes to the vitality of the community rather than benefiting any private individual, group, or business. Like I said before, this can be open to for-profit organizations and individuals, but we want to make sure that the program that we are funding is something that is based in the community, that is benefiting the community, and that is not something that is just for the sake of making money.
Or to clarify a bit that while we invest in businesses, that this isn't a traditional small business grant where it may support general infrastructure. This is really looking to support ideas and projects that create a general and broad community benefit.
Off my mute button. Yes, thank you for that, Jeanette. And finally, just to make sure that the work is committed to fighting, reducing, and eliminating poverty. That is one of United Way's main things. So I'm going to pass it to Janae, and she's going to talk a little bit more about who we fund.
Thank you, Jeremiah. So this is building on some of the conversation that we've had so far, but the work that we seek to fund is work that builds strong financial foundations in solving community challenges that hold families back. And this is aligned to the work that we do as a United Way in recognizing that there are these building blocks of education, financial stability, health, and basic needs that help to build a strong financial foundation. So what we seek to invest in aligns closely or mirrors closely to those areas. And you'll see that the list of areas that we're accepting applications in, while this is not exhaustive, really shows the breadth here. So prenatal and maternal health care, family engagement, career preparation, basic needs, addressing trauma, building resiliency, systems change around mobilizing and movement building, and community and social connectedness are just some of the areas that we are interested in investing in. And if there's another area that your organization, your project, your idea works in, there's space in that eligibility form and in the application to clarify that. So a better way, or probably a helpful way to capture the diversity of ideas and in organizations that we are looking to invest in is by reflecting some of the organizations we have invested in this first year of the project. So this is a grid showing some photos of some of the folks we were happy to invest in this year, some of the 28 folks that we were really excited about. So in this top photo, we have Diesa Dorsey of ICANN Health that built a manual, a culturally relevant manual to support folks that have a prognosis of diabetes or pre-diabetes, plus additional support to ensure that folks are able to manage and really be healthy even with that prognosis. We also have Morgan and Fred of Cozy Home Child Care and Learning Center, and they operate one of the few quality rated childcare centers in Avondale that offer first and second shift care, making it so that working families and parents are able to have proper care for their children. We have Cincinnati Music Accelerator. We fund this year to put on a concert series where they're intentionally hosting programming in communities that often don't see this sort of programming, and hiring Black musicians and vendors so that folks are really able to benefit from what they're trying to put on. Our friends at Tribe Foundation are creating a community garden in the West End that seeks to not only provide gardening and fresh food, but also to support folks in seeing how gardening can generate income for folks that take part in it. The last two organizations that are featured here are Parents for Public Schools of Greater Cincinnati, supporting parents and adults to be really strong advocates for children and their education. And we supported them with their PEP program, their PEP program. And West End Art Gallery, that's providing art enrichment and other sort of support and community connectedness in their backyards of the West End. So while this isn't an exhaustive list, we thought it was really great to spotlight some of the folks that we did invest in this past year. So applying for the grant, reiterating some things Jeremiah mentioned already, the first step is that eligibility form. And that's just to ensure that your idea, your program, your project, your work meets the very basic eligibility requirements, because we wouldn't want you to invest a lot of time and energy in an application if the idea doesn't meet those basic eligibility requirements. We'll then move you over, if you're accepted, to the full grant application form. There's two parts. The first is the grantee profile, which gives us some high-level information about your organization, and then the program information that digs into all of the application questions, including how you measure success, what you're planning on doing, what does a timeline look like for you, who are the leaders of your idea. Deadline is July 8th at 11:59 p.m. And as mentioned, you can find lots of great resources on our website at uwgc.org/BEW apply. We encourage you to download that information packet. Not only does it give you information about what we're seeking to fund, it also provides the full list of questions in that eligibility form and the full list of questions in the grant application. So please, please, please read that information and of course connect with us if you have additional questions, comments, or concerns. So you've heard quite a bit from us, but we thought it would be a good opportunity for you to hear directly from one of the folks that we invested in this past year. So joining us today is Ms. Marquisia Jones-Woods of Q Kids Dance Team to share a bit about her organization, what she does, and her experiences with the Black Empowerment Works process. So thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me today. My name is Marquisia Jones, and I run an organization that I've been running 40 years this month. Definitely, it's been a blessing. I work with the youth in the West End and the families basically in the West End, just trying to help provide a better life for them through dance, housing, however we may be able to assist here. During this process, I hadn't really received grants before. And when we got this grant, it really opened up a lot of doors for us because it allowed us to get resources that we didn't have for 39 years. It allowed us to build relationships. It allowed us to have that we could go to when we were things. I was able to go to Black Empowerment and ask for assistance and have them refer us to different organizations or people to help us through this process. So it's truly been a blessing for us because it was at a time where we were actually about to have our doors closed, and we were able to receive a grant that has helped us through that process. And it's just really been, first it was overwhelming because it was a new process for us, but it really worked out because, like I said, it allowed us to build relationships that weren't there. We were just a community organization, just basically operating off of fundraising, grilling, that type of stuff. So it allowed us to go through the grant process and learn how to work through that and receive resources as well.
Thank you for sharing that. If you can recall, what were some of the parts of the process, so in trying to secure the grant, that stood out for you?
Our biggest issue was that making sure that our board, we had a diverse board. So we worked really hard on that, and we've definitely done that, and successfully. We have a diverse board now that's working, because at first we had a very, very small board at the time because we were just getting up and running as a nonprofit. So everything was new to us. So they've helped us through that process and given us resources as far as developing the board as well.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. This is a place where we welcome questions from any of our participants. So if you have a question and you're in the Zoom meeting right now, feel free to raise your hand or unmute yourself to ask that question, preferably unmute yourself to ask the question. If you would like to type it in the chat, feel free to type it in the chat. If you would, or if you're on Facebook, type it and we'll get them answered if you have questions specifically for Marquisia.
And I have one more thing I wanted to say that I thought really, really stuck out for me through this process is when you have your check-ins with, when I would have my check-ins, I was able to share issues that I was having as far as running an organization, and being able to talk to somebody and have somebody help you through that process was a big advantage for me, because even though it might not have actually been pertaining to what we were discussing as far as the grant was concerned, but it opened up other doors so that I could get resources to help us through other problems that we might have been having at the time. So I wanted to share that I thought the check-ins were big, because it just allowed you to get more resources and opportunities from that and help, basically.
Excellent. So I'm going to turn it over to Orlando, who has his hand up, and then I'll get to some of the questions in the chat.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. My question is just in reference to some of the eligibility requirements. I know that it's saying that the board has to be a certain percentage Black. The question is, for me, I have a pretty unique situation in that I'm a part of a larger organization, but I also have my own board locally here in Cincinnati. And I'm responsible for raising, of course, and getting all of the funds and resources necessary. So with that, the 501c3 is tied to that larger organization. For those requirements, is it my specific board that needs to meet all of those, or would it be the actual organization as a whole that would need to meet those requirements?
That's such a good question. Thank you for asking it. So as we're looking to invest in organizations, our top priority, of course, is organizations that are rooted in communities. So I will say you have a little bit of an uphill battle as an organization that is affiliated with a national or a larger branch of organization. So we're looking at the board diversity of the entity that has the 501c3. Thank you. Not a problem. So some of the questions in the chat include, what is the deadline for the eligibility form? The deadline for that eligibility form is going to be July 8th at 10 p.m. You can fill it out as late as 11:52, but in order to have time to actually complete the application, you'll need at least 2 hours. So you have plenty of time to fill out that eligibility form. In terms of what is the average grant size, in the last year, the range was $2,500 to $25,000. Most of our grants from this past year were at that $25,000 area, but we only had a couple that were under that, and so those ranged from $8,000 to $15,000 or $20,000 for the ones that were a little smaller. After eligibility is determined, what other types of information documents are required with the application? Great question, Sean. So you'll find the full list of application questions within the information packet on the site. It's really some questions around your idea, your work. The only additional forms or such that we need from you, if you decide to attach them, are a deadline and a budget. So we try to keep it very, very easy to access. And in order to get the form, go to the website. There's a big button that says apply. That's how you'll get to EC Impact, fill out that eligibility form, fill out that application. It's all on that one site. And to get help with the process, if you have questions for us, you can feel free to reach out either by phone, by email, or sign up for one of those information sessions that we have a registration link for on our website. Terry, were there any questions that specifically popped up on the Facebook event?
Not as of yet, and the other ones I've answered pretty much.
Perfect. Thank you. Any questions for Marquisia? All right, well, thank you so much, Marquisia, for joining us here today for this conversation. I know you need to run to something else, but you have been fantastic to work with, and we hope that it motivates other folks to apply for this process. So I'm going to turn it back over to Jeremiah, of course.
All right, thank you, Marquisia. Let me jump back to the PowerPoint. And feel free to continue to put questions in the chat. We will hold more time for questions at the end of the program. But now that we've covered the grantee experience, I want to go to the next step and talk a little bit more about the reviewer experience. Like I said, this is a vital part to what we're trying to do here at Black Empowerment Works. So for the reviewer journey, it's a little bit different, but it's along the same scale, along the same timeline. So like I said, you already knocked out the first two steps. You heard about the opportunity to be a reviewer and you're attending an info session to learn more. You can also, like I said, look on the website and read through the information packet. Encourage you to do that. So from there, you would go about completing an application on Typeform. You will find that on the website as well. The reviewer selections will be communicated in late June. Once we get our schedule more solidified, you will hear more information. But late June is when you should expect to hear about whether or not you are selected as a reviewer or not. We will hold a reviewer meet and greet and just give you an opportunity to kind of meet the other people on the team. And these are the people you're going to be making these investment decisions with. From there, we will have a self-guided training that we'll ask you to complete over a week or two. We will ask you to submit some paperwork, such as a conflict of interest and some other information. The self-guided training is going to be about teaching you what is Black Empowerment Works and what was the original vision of the Champions of Change when they put it together, as well as learning about implicit bias and how it might impact these investment decisions. We will hold a live training with your review team, and from there you will learn who is going to be on your review team. You will have at least 2 other people, so there will be a team of 3, and you will read over a sample application and kind of get a feel for how each other reads through an application, how each other understands the information that is being processed, and how you can have the best, most fulfilling conversation through that process. From there, we will give you a stack of a stack of applications, and just based off of how many applications you receive, you will be split across your review team. So your review team will receive all 10 same applications, and you will read them individually. And then from there, you will hold a small group meeting where we discuss application impressions. If you have any questions or anything you would like to follow up, you will write those down. And then from there, you will hold the grantee reviewer conversations. Like I said before, this is just more or less to kind of give the grantee applicant an opportunity to kind of speak life into their idea and answer any questions that you might have had for follow-up. From there, you will have a second small group meeting for any adjustments that have been made from the conversation. And you will aggregate and score each application, and then you will give those to us, and we will put them together to put together a final funding recommendation based off of the reviewer scores. And that's what we would discuss in the large group meeting on August 23rd, and say, hey, this is based off of your scores. This is what we at United Way think you should fund. You will give us the A-OK, and then we will move forward with that. So, application and eligibility. Like I said before, this is what we're looking for in reviewers. Anyone is eligible to be a reviewer, but we are holding a bias towards Black folks. Like I said, this is where Black Empowerment Works. We're aiming for a diverse panel of reviewers, and diversity can be across age, across education, across region, just a variety of life experiences for our reviewers to make sure that we are not skewing one way or another when we are making these selections. We are looking for people who are empathetic and relatable, active in their communities, passionate about advancing the well-being of Black folks, and able to commit fully to participating in the process. As you've seen before, there are several steps, and we need people who will be able to show up to these steps, show up to these meetings, and be engaged in talking to the people, to the grantees. So, similar to the grantee experience, we have a reviewer from last year we would like to talk a little bit more to and figure out what her experience was. We have Miss Joslyn Okodudu. Please tell me I said that right. But I'm glad to have you here, Miss Joslyn, and I'm going to stop my share so we can talk to you a little bit more. If I can find you.
I'm great. How are you? You did great on my name. So thank you. I appreciate that, Jeremiah. My name is Joslyn Okodudu, and my day job is I am a senior program manager with Greater Cincinnati in Queens Village.
Thank you for that. So if you could just talk a little bit, one question that I like to ask for everybody and who comes through here is, what was the most fulfilling part of being a reviewer, and probably what was, I guess, the most frustrating part of being a reviewer?
Definitely. So the most fulfilling part for me was just being surrounded by Black promise and Black brilliance. in my day job, I spend so much time insisting to folks and reiterating to folks that Black people got it. Like they got the juice, they have the ideas, they have the solutions to the problems that ail our community, and what they need is they need those resources, they need the money that so often goes to groups of folks who are not intimately connected to what's going on in our community, and they don't care about it like we do. Like you care about these issues when it could be your daughter, or it could be your son, or it's your mama and your friends. And so it was really a beautiful example of exactly what I speak about, and it was lovely to see.
And I'll say thank you for that. And going off of that, what advice would you give to somebody who's considering being a reviewer, but like maybe it's their first time or they're unsure what the process will be like?
I would say jump in, although I have been I have been a part of this process from the grantee side. I've never been someone before this who was actually reviewing the grants. And so it was illuminating to be a part of that team. And also, as I said, it was very nice to just see, but also it was a learning experience. I was surrounded by a group of folks who are intelligent, Black, brilliant, many of them. And so I was able to take their experiences and apply it to what I know and what I've learned. And I was able to teach other folks stuff. So it was just a great experience. And I would suggest that if you are interested, if you've never done it before, that they provide you with enough training that you will feel like you have what you need to do it well.
Thanks for that. And like now, I just want to open it up to the floor if anybody is considering being a reviewer, or if you just have, well, yes, if you are considering being a reviewer and you have any questions for Ms. Joslyn, please put them in the chat, put them on Facebook, or raise your hand and speak up. I think I see you, Mr. Cook.
I'm just right. I got a question. Can I speak now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I got a question more or less to her as far as her and her reviewing process. My question was, did you see something that you say certain organizations were closed, but they just missed on certain items? What is your point of view as far as certain small organizations, nonprofit, they were pretty close, if they would have did this or that, then you would have said yes, or just more so a point of view as far as something that someone could have did to take them over the edge as far as yes, you would have said yes as far as to what they did. Thank you.
That is a really good question. Really, what was most challenging was that so many of them were so good that it was so hard to tell one group of like one brilliant proposal, you're going to get this $25,000, and this other brilliant proposal that you didn't get it. But what I would say is that people should be maybe a little bit more focused. Some folks, their proposal was so broad and they were throwing so much at us, and it was like, this is a lot. And $25,000 is a lot of money, but it ain't that much. So I would also say be realistic about your budget and what $25,000 will do, or whatever you're trying to apply for, what that can do. So be really thoughtful, ask people questions who have done it before, so that you know that when you're submitting a budget, it makes sense. Because there were a lot of people who have done this work, and we could tell right away, like, that $3,000 ain't gonna make it as far as they think it is. So I would ask questions to people who have done this work before.
And to build on that a little bit, I think that's a great point to mention. In the information packet, we list out what are some of the qualities of really strong application. And just like Joslyn said, really firm idea that you're working around is one of them, that it's clear that how you're going to measure success, because we give you the space to define what success means to you. It's clear that it feels like something that can produce something, some sort of outcome, period, and that with the support that we're providing, that the project feels feasible. Just building on all of the comments Joslyn said, there were some where the idea was amazing, but the timeline that they gave themselves, or the amount of partnerships that they needed to establish that they hadn't established just yet, felt like such an uphill climb that it would have been challenging. But yeah, there were lots of really great, as the person that really just facilitated groups and made sure that the reviewers felt supported through their process. That was the hardest part. Is so many amazing organizations are doing such amazing work. And for us, what we want to be able to do is that even if you aren't able to get funded through the project, that you have support or connections that you generate through this process, whether it's generating a connection with someone like Joslyn, or it's getting some practice in filling out a grant application. We'll give you all of the materials that you fill out for us to use however you choose in other spaces. So we want this to be a resource where we have you on our list, that we can share other opportunities for funding with you as they come across our table. But yeah, lots of tough decisions and lots of really dope people that came together to make them.
Are there any more questions for Ms. Joslyn or anything about the review experience? Ms. Terry, did you see anything on the Facebook side?
Not as of yet.
All right. Cool. Well, that's totally fine. Just want to say thank you again, Ms. Joslyn, for taking the time to talk to us today. If there's anything else that comes up, feel free to reach out to us and we'll see if we can get that question to Ms. Joslyn. But that is the bulk of our presentation. I'm going to jump back into the share just to give you our information. But at this point, we would like to open it up to general questions. You can find our information here if you would like to email us. Like I said, it is black-led@uwgc.org, and you can find us at this phone number here as well. And you can also, like I said, go on to our website, uwgc.org/BEW apply, and sign up for a Q&A chat or whatever works for you. You can reach out to us via email or phone as well. But I would like to open up the floor to any questions that people may have, and we'll take them as we come in the chat and Facebook, or if you would just like to raise your hand.
We've got some great questions that folks had submitted in the chat earlier that I tried to respond to quickly, but want to address live for everyone to hear the answers to. So one was, what metrics are you required to report, or what are the grant reporting requirements? So in the application, we ask you, how do you define success, or how would you define success? And if you're funded, we work with you. If they're not shaped into clearly measurable things, we'll work with you to figure out what your measure should look like for this first year. In terms of reporting, we have one year-end report where we'll ask you questions like, how many folks did you serve? How did your program compare to what you had originally proposed? How did you end up using the funding compared to how you had proposed in the budget that you originally supplied for the application? And then questions around how you were able to build capacity. We want to make sure that the reporting piece is a low barrier to entry or participation. And leading up to that year-end report, we have grantee check-ins. So we have conversations with you quarterly where we ask you, it's a low pressure conversation. How are you? How's the project coming along? What successes have you experienced? What challenges have you encountered? And how can we be of support to you? Through that, we take notes and we send it back to you so that you have this record of the conversation, which will help you in completing that year-end report. And we try to do a really good job of diving in deep to the work that you're doing so that some of those successes that you may not have naturally pulled out as a success, we can capture that on your behalf. So that's where we are in terms of reporting. Another question was, can the grant be used for any part of payroll? And the grant will also have to pay for marketing, location expense, and getting participants, correct? So in that information package, we detail that these grant funds can be used in a lot of different ways as you see fit to carry out your work. So if you want some of it to go towards staffing, you can include that. If you want it to go towards location expenses, marketing, you can do that. If there are parts of the program expenses that you want to include that. The only areas that are a big no for us is one, this cannot be used to support a capital campaign. So I know that maybe some of you are looking to purchase a building and you need a bunch of money that this grant will not be able to cover, and this could be one of the pennies that goes into that coffer. That's not what we're looking to invest in this process. Additionally, because we are a 501c3, we cannot invest in anything that is partisan or political. So nothing to endorse a particular candidate, a particular political party, anything in that space. But outside of that, you propose it. If it is something where we're like, oh, we don't know if this will work, we'll have that conversation with you, but it's pretty open. Let's see, what is the timeline for a reviewer in terms of how long will they review, i.e. a year, 10 months? So the review window is pretty short, right? So the deadline to apply to be a reviewer is June 18th. You'll start your reviewer training that following week, and you'll be done with the whole review process by August 24th. So in that time, it is receiving the training, reviewing the applications, having conversations with the grantees, and making decisions. So it is an investment of time within those months, but it is only within those 3 months that you are responsible for being a reviewer with us. Though we do, if there are other ways that you want to engage with the project, we welcome them. So let me see. Okay. Oh, so the reviewer doesn't follow the grantee during the entire time they're conducting their program. No, but you do have the ability, if you're really interested in a particular grantee, to reach out and connect. We want to help build networks and connections through this process. We will send you updates. So all of the reviewers have received updates about how the grantees are doing, and we send out a broad community update as well. So you can follow their journey that way. And if you want to get directly involved with them, you can reach out to see how you make that happen. Question from Stanley is, are reviewers compensated? So at this point, reviewers are not compensated, but we're looking at ways to make sure that we honor the amount of time and energy folks are putting into that process. And then another question, does the company help with nonprofit organization startup costs? So you can allocate some of your funds to do that, but the hope is that it's really focused on carrying out your idea. If you need connections to resources to help with that process, we're happy to build connections, but this isn't necessarily a space where it's how do you support with starting a nonprofit. Whew, we have so many great questions in this chat. When is a grantee expected to begin the program? Can it be 6 months, within the year, if the time can be justified? Yes. So our only expectation, our main expectation, is that you are carrying out work within that grant cycle. So last year we had some folks where the majority of their programming happened in the summer, and they carried out their program or project in the summer. That's fine. I think I hit all the chat questions. This is a lot of me talking. So if there are folks that want to unmute and ask questions, or if there's anyone else, Joslyn, Jeremiah, any comments that you would like to add to the responses that I provided.
Okay. I think you hit everything well. I do want to open it up if anybody would like to jump in. And also, I just wanted to check if there was anything that popped up for you on Facebook, Ms. Terry.
Hey, Jeremiah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Baz from Center for Employment Opportunities. Quick question for you. Earlier, I think I heard that, if you're tied to a national organization, that the odds of you getting something are pretty slim, because you are really looking for a organization that is in Cincinnati, rooted in Cincinnati. Is that a correct statement?
Yes, we are gearing towards organizations that are grassroots, but I won't say it disqualifies you. If you have like more context on this, Jeanette, go ahead.
So what I will say is Center for Employment Opportunities is already a funded United Way agency partner
yeah.
and thus would not be funded through this process.
Thank you. Copy that.
You're welcome.
Ms. Terry, were you trying to say something?
No.
Well, I am seeing no more questions. Like I said, we are, hold on.
There's one additional question in the
Ms.
chat
Terry.
that I wanted to get clarified. So Dr. Kim, if you're able to unmute, can you clarify your question around finding your own participants?
Hi, Jenna. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you don't have a pool of participants that we will pull from. So if it would be up to us to go to the school district or to advertise or what have you, it is up to us to find the people that are interested in the program. Even if you already have a source where, you know, of that we can choose from and then go talk to them. And so that's my concern. Does that make sense, Jenna?
I think it does. I'm going to try to answer your question and you'll tell me if I'm hitting the question. So if you have this idea that you want to carry out and you have a we ask you about who you're looking to support through the project. If it's a matter of helping to make connections and we have the ability to help you make that connection, we're more than happy to support that. But I think it is really helpful to know specifically who you're looking to work with, to have some of those connections already or a plan to make those. But we are happy to support or facilitate conversations with you.
Okay. And Jenna, suppose you you have a campaign where you go and you are, you know, you find people that want to be involved in what you're doing, and you know, and people don't come, or it's just not as successful, or, you know, of that whole other side. Can you just add to that?
I think I can.
Okay.
So in this process, we're investing in your ideas, in your programs, in your projects. And if this year taught us anything, it's that sometimes there are some unexpected hurdles or roadblocks that may come your way. And looking at some of the folks that we invested in this year, we started in 2020, we'd started the process right before COVID really hit. And lots of those organizations had to work to pivot and to adjust. So we're in a space to work alongside of you. If things don't pan out exactly how you expected it, that's okay. It's looking at how we can continue to move the work forward. That's one of the many reasons why we have those quarterly check-ins with you and try to have a really open door policy that if you have questions or concerns, you can share with us. So we're not looking for people to be perfect. We're looking for people to really be motivated and really tenacious about the ideas that they're looking to carry out.
I got it. Thank you so much, Jenna.
Not a problem. And to question about clarifying the Black-led organization requirements again, Jeremiah, if you could share that back up on the screen. I want to make sure I hit all of them, but I'll try to recite them from memory in order. So the first one is that the organization has to have, if it's 60% of the leaders have to identify as Black. So if it's a nonprofit organization, that's 60% of your leadership team. If it's a group or a community coalition, it's 60% of the people that are carrying out that idea. And the root of that is really trying to get to organizations and ideas where Black folks have decision-making ability and can make decisions on behalf of that organization or that idea. For nonprofit organizations or organizations with a board, we're looking at 50% of the board identifying as Black, work that intentionally contributes to advancing the well-being of Black folks. So there's a focus on supporting Black folks, even though it doesn't have to be exclusive, but there's intentionality around it. Work that is rooted in or owned by the community. We're really looking to invest in folks that have lived experience or connected to folks with lived experience for that issue that they're seeking to address, though not exclusively, but that certainly helps if you have experience, expertise in that space. The work contributes to the vitality of a community rather than benefiting any private individual, group, or business. As Jeremiah mentioned, this is really trying to hit on the fact, even though we invest in organizations not set up as a nonprofit, this isn't like a traditional small business grant or loan where it can be used just generally for operating a business. It's really for work that contributes to the vitality of the community, and that it's committed to fighting or reducing or eliminating poverty. So targeting folks with less access or limited access to resources is what we're trying to do here. So those are the eligibility requirements. Cora, to answer your question about can you share a job opportunity in the chat, feel free. Janelle, is sustainability weighted in terms of being granted funds and work will be able to continue without future funding? So that hasn't been an element that we're considering, because sustainability for a person trying to bring their idea to life, and especially organizations and ideas that have traditionally gone underfunded or unfunded, we can't immediately expect, like, if you get these funds, you're going to be sustainable. We do want to work alongside of you to see what other avenues, connections, resources might exist, but that isn't necessarily a weighted area that we consider when investing in ideas. Woo. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, so thank you so much for being here. We're going to plug it again, uwgc.org. I think it's a / BEW apply. That's where you'll find the information packet for both the reviewer and the grant experience. That's where you'll find our contact information. If you have additional questions, you can email us at black-led@uwgc.org, and we respond pretty quickly. Like within a couple of hours, we'll definitely have a response for you. And this is our team. Any final thoughts that you want to share, Jeremiah or Tara?
I am good. Like Janae said, if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're here to help. So yeah, thank you all for showing up. We're happy to have you.
And that's the same for me. I thank each and every one of you for showing up. As I said on the Facebook Live, I'll sit around for an extra 10 minutes if there's a question that something comes to mind for anyone. Take care all.
All right. Everybody have a good one.